I want to speak to my father's sense of timing. He died about 2 hours after Halloween, the Day of the Dead, 2 hours into All Saints' Day, to the end. In 1978, when Paul Treichler died, in his car, I think after a party, he got home, and then he died in the car. And I talked to my father the next day when he called to tell me, or maybe Paula had called. Anyway, talked to my father soon after. I said, please don't die suddenly like that. Give me time to get there. He said, don't dawdle. And maybe you saw in those earlier photographs, there was a photograph of my son as a little child climbing the wall. There was a part in our kitchen he liked to climb up, and he's naked. I sent it to my parents. A few weeks later, my father comes back with a photograph of himself naked, climbing the wall or a bookcase. Once when Alex was maybe 6, 4, 5, in the mail I got a little package of earplugs. And I don't know what, oh yeah, okay, whatever. And about 3 days later, the snare drum came. So, when I was between jobs, about 24 years ago, my dad came out to Santa Cruz to direct the Glass Menagerie. And I had heard he was a gifted director, and so I took the occasion to shadow him throughout the production, from the initial tryouts through opening night. And it was, it started out in a barn at somebody's home with a stage, tape on the floor to show the stage. And it was sort of jerky at first. And so I saw this whole process. I took copious notes. And my own work as a grant writer. But he, in his directing, he has great faith in the play, the playwright's message, the intent of the play, the purpose of the play. He's very much focused on that. And then to get to that, there's a whole process that he had great faith in, which he always pronounced process. And in my own work of grant writing, it's similar. There's a process you go through. You're searching for the intent of the author, the intent of the funder. I have an opening night, which is when the thing has to be turned in to the prospective funder. And when it's all over, my father talked about what great respect he had for the actors, because they're the ones who had to do it. He was not there when the play opened. And just, I write up these things to do all these programs. When it's over, the staff has to do the program. So I saw some similarities in the way our work. And so I took all those notes. I want to say one more thing before I tell you. My childhood friend Kit Roman, who goes by the name Chris Roman now, when he heard my dad died, I tell every cast I work with as a director 2 stories connected to Dal from when I was 12 and he was directing. The Happy Time was the name of the play. He says my dad and Jemmy Faust were also in it. On the first day of rehearsal, he gave what I'm sure was his standard intro talk, including, "The only excuse for missing rehearsal is a death in the family, and it better be yours." And on the night of dress rehearsal, he told us of the tradition that if the dress is terrible, opening night will be brilliant, and vice versa. At the end of the run-through, his voice came from the back of the house, "Congratulations, that's shat." I'll miss him. So I took all these notes about directing the play, notebooks full of notes, and then I I don't know if I transcribed them, but they just sat there. I didn't know what to do with them. I would look at them from time to time, and so I went on my sister-in-law Anne's, she's a tour guide extraordinaire, and she arranged artists' retreat in France. And we were 4 days in Paris and 6 days in a little village in south of France. And so I took this time to do something with this, and I didn't know what I would do. But I ended up writing this thing on the plane over there. I'm not going to read it all, but a little bit. And I call it a love song to my father. Or, anyway, Shakespeare's Summers. I mean, we did such great things because of him. Even at 55, Sophie could call up this physical memory from 45 years ago at any time. It was that present in the sinews and muscles under her skin. It was her father carrying her home after a long day and late night at the play. Her dead weight against his chest and her head in the soft pocket between his neck and his shoulder, moving up and down with his long loping strides as they traversed the 5 minutes across the campus to their home. It ended in her bedroom with Sophie still sucking on sleep and her father gently removing her shoes and jeans, pulling back the covers so her feet had room to find their place, then laying the covers over her and tucking them in. The thing she remembered was a special way he tucked the covers, being lifted by his hands deep underneath the mattress that punctuated the closing of the long summer day and sliding into deep slumber. Summers in the early 1950s meant the excitement of the Shakespeare Festival. Real professional actors from New York mixed with the usual locals performed 7 Shakespeare plays in repertory each year, 3 weeks of back-breaking rehearsals and set building, then each week a new play opened, and the final 2 weeks a different play every night. People came from all around as far as Chicago, New York, and Tulsa to taste the chronicles, the comedies, the tragedies, the first time that all of Shakespeare's 35 plays had been performed in the United States. The outdoor theater hugged the side of the main building of the college, only 2 blocks from her home. Sophie would hang out there hoping to see Marco, the to-die-for handsome actor from South America, or Colleen, who was so kind and had a lilting accent and wonderful stories of Ireland, or Jessie, who taught Sophie and her sisters how to make a thin pancake with jelly called ayakugan. Sophie would run over to the theater's mother's request to relay logistical instructions or questions. She would help put tickets in tiny envelopes or fold programs. Sometimes she helped the actors with their lines by sitting with them on a blanket or bench in the vast expanse of lawn that stretched out from the stage, giving them the last few words before their underlined parts in their tattered play scripts, reading along with them silently and correcting them if they said the wrong word or their memory lapsed. This place and these routines were as familiar as her own yard, and Sophie came and went as she pleased. Her access, her comfort in coming and hanging around came from the fact that her father was the director. He was tan, beautiful smooth skin on his shoulders and back, a testament to the sun's presence over long shirtless days. And he was oh so handsome and easy to fall in love with. He wore his authority comfortably. He had an ease about him that put others at ease. No, that's not quite right. The ease was a facade, a tool in his arsenal for achieving his ends. He treads so lightly in his body and voice, totally alert to all the cues bombarding his mind and senses, so that he could harness and guide the actors toward the realization of Shakespeare's intent. At home, both he and the children were under the management of Sophie's mother. At the theater, however, he was the Lord who commanded light and sound. With the actors, he would demand, cajole, move close in to whisper something, touching them with a gentle firmness that conveyed his point both verbally and physically, from his cells to theirs. He would explain through metaphor. He would draw on their visceral experiences to shape the attitude he wanted from them. You've got to make us believe you, that you are relieved. You've had to urinate ever since you got on the subway, and now you're getting into your house after struggling with the locks, and you can finally pee. Ah! Got it?